The hospital hallway smelled of antiseptic and fear. Doctors rushed in and out of the intensive care unit, whispering words that carried no hope. On the bed inside lay Victoria Hale, the iron-willed CEO of one of the largest tech companies in the world. Her fortune and power couldn't save her now, her body was failing, and no treatment seemed to work. Her family sat outside, broken. Specialists had flown in from London, New York, and even Switzerland. Millions of dollars poured into experimental drugs. But nothing was enough. The world saw her as untouchable, but in this cold, sterile room, she was just a woman fighting for her life. At that same hospital, in a different waiting room, sat Ethan Cole, a single dad and a war veteran. His daughter, Lily, clung to his arm, her big hazel eyes filled with trust. Ethan had seen battlefields, had seen men broken beyond repair, but nothing scared him more than the thought of his little girl getting sick. Tonight, she was fine, just here for a routine checkup. But life had a way of pulling people into stories they never expected. A frantic nurse rushed past, speaking loudly into her headset. She doesn't have much time. None of the transfusions are working, her body is rejecting everything. Ethan's ears caught that. His instincts as a soldier, and as a father, made him pay attention. "Daddy, what's wrong?" Lily asked, squeezing his hand. He shook his head. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just, someone's very sick." But then he heard another phrase, "She needs a rare antigen. If we don't find a match, she won't last the night." By sheer fate, a volunteer called for emergency donors. Ethan stood. "I'll give," he said firmly. The nurse looked him up and down. "Sir, you don't understand. We've tested dozens already. The odds are almost impossible." Ethan simply rolled up his sleeve. "Try me." Hours later, the impossible happened. Ethan's blood was not only a match. It was the only one that didn't trigger rejection. The doctors stared in disbelief as Victoria's vitals stabilized. The monitors that had been flatlining moments earlier now pulsed with life. The billionaire CEO, saved by the blood of a man who had nothing but his daughter. When Victoria woke, her voice was weak, but her eyes were steady. She found Ethan sitting quietly in the corner, Lily asleep in his arms. You saved me," she whispered. Ethan shrugged. "Just did what anyone would have done." Her lips curved faintly. "You'd be surprised. Not everyone would." In that fragile moment, surrounded by machines and silence, something shifted. For the first time in years, Victoria felt something beyond the coldness of wealth and contracts, she felt human connection. Days turned into weeks. Doctors confirmed it wasn't just chance, Ethan's blood carried a unique marker that allowed her body to rebuild itself. He kept returning for transfusions, each time walking past marble walls and bodyguards, carrying nothing but his daughter's backpack and his quiet courage. Victoria began waiting for those visits, not just for survival, but because Ethan spoke to her like no one else did. He didn't care about her billions, her empire, or her fame. He cared about whether she had eaten, whether she had smiled that day. One evening, as the sun set through the glass walls of her recovery suite, Victoria asked, "Why would you risk so much for a stranger?" Ethan thought for a moment, then looked at Lily, coloring in the corner. "Because I know what it's like to be helpless. On the battlefield, I saw men saved because someone gave without hesitation. I promised myself, I'd do the same, no matter who it was." Her eyes welled. No boardroom deal, no profit margin had ever moved her like that. The world soon discovered the story. Headlines read, "Veteran's blood saves billionaire CEO." But what the headlines didn't capture was the quiet bond forming between two broken souls. Ethan had lost his wife years ago. Victoria had buried herself in work, convincing herself she didn't need love. Yet, every transfusion brought them closer, every shared smile, every late-night conversation about life, war, dreams, and fatherhood. One day, after another round of treatment, Victoria knelt beside Lily. "You know, your dad is a hero," she said softly. Lily grinned. "I know. But he's lonely too." That simple, childlike honesty struck deeper than any business deal ever had. The final treatment came, and Victoria was declared healed. She stood on her feet again, alive not just because of science, but because of one man's kindness. At the press conference, the world expected her to speak about her company, about medical innovation, about money. Instead, she looked straight at Ethan, sitting in the back with Lily. "I was saved not by wealth, not by power, but by selflessness. By a man who gave when he didn't have to. That's what real strength looks like." The room fell silent. Later, away from cameras and flashing lights, she approached him. "You gave me life back, Ethan. Maybe I can give you something too." He raised a brow. "And what's that?" She smiled, not the practiced CEO smile, but a real one. "A future. If you'll let me." Months later, the headlines had changed again. From battlefield to boardroom, the single dad who won the CEO's heart. But for Ethan and Victoria, it wasn't about headlines. It was about laughter at the dinner table, Lily teaching Victoria how to bake cookies, and a second chance at love neither of them thought possible. Because sometimes, the greatest cures aren't found in medicine or money. They're found in kindness, in courage, and in hearts willing to give without asking for anything in return. In a world that often feels divided, this story reminds us that compassion has the power to heal more than just bodies. It can heal hearts, rewrite destinies, and create families where none were expected.